The Greater Israel Project and Turkey at the Crossroads, a geopolitical chessboard unfolding. In the aftermath of the Arab Spring, the balance of power in the Middle East has shifted dramatically. Once dismissed as speculative fiction, the Greater Israel Project, GP, has emerged as a very real and effective strategy to dismantle regional opposition, redraw borders, and assert unchallenged control over the Levant. Backed by the tactical implementation of the U.S.'s Greater Middle East Initiative, GMEI, Israel has achieved what was once considered impossible: near-complete political, economic, and military dominance across its strategic periphery. This essay explores the mechanisms behind the success of GIP, the quiet synergy between U.S. imperial interests and Israeli expansionism, and how Turkey, as a regional power with imperial ambitions of its own, has become both a collaborator and a potential casualty in this unfolding geopolitical realignment. 1. The frameworks: Greater Israel and Greater Middle East projects. The Greater Israel Project draws ideological legitimacy from early Zionist thinkers and operational directives from key documents like the Oded-Yinon Plan, 1982, and the Clean Break Strategy, 1996. These outlined a path of fragmenting neighboring Arab states into ethnic and sectarian microentities, thereby removing threats to Israeli hegemony. In parallel, the U.S. launched its Greater Middle East Initiative, originally presented as a Democratic Reform Package Post 9/11. In reality, it functioned as a strategy of destabilization, regime change, and market colonization to re-engineer the region into a controllable periphery. Where the U.S. fought wars, Israel reaped the strategic spoils. 2. The fruits of chaos: a collapsing Arab world. The results are visible on every border. Syria lies in ruins, fractured into Russian, Iranian, Kurdish, and Israeli-influenced zones. Israeli airstrikes on Iranian assets in Syria are routine and unanswered. Iraq has been reduced to an incoherent tripartite zone, with Iranian-backed Shia militias in the south, a weak central state, and a U.S.-Israeli-backed Kurdish zone in the north. Lebanon has been economically neutralized. Though Hezbollah remains militarily capable, the state is a failed entity. Egypt, once a cornerstone of Arab strength, is now effectively a security subcontractor for Israel in Gaza and Sinai. The Gulf states have normalized relations with Israel, betraying the Palestinian cause and integrating themselves into a Zionist-led security architecture. Jordan teeters on the brink of collapse, a scenario which may serve as a prelude to the long-feared Jordanian option for Palestinian expulsion. 3. The covert triumph of Israel. While Israel has not expanded its borders significantly on paper, its control over the region is unprecedented. It enjoys military impunity and regional air supremacy. It commands economic partnerships with former enemies. It receives covert support from regimes that publicly denounce it. It has succeeded in reducing the Palestinian cause to an internal police matter. All of this has occurred while the United States is seen to be withdrawing from the region. In reality, its strategic footprint has simply been outsourced to Israel. 4. Turkey, the next domino or the last fortress. Turkey is surrounded. To the west, Greece, France, the UK, and U.S. military forces. To the south, Israel's expanding footprint in Syria and covert influence in Iraq. In Cyprus, the island is increasingly militarized against Turkish ambitions. Cyprus as a strategic threat. Cyprus plays a pivotal role in the encirclement of Turkey. The UK retains 2 sovereign military bases on the island, Akrotiri and Dhekelia, which host advanced surveillance and strike capabilities. The U.S. has increased cooperation with the Republic of Cyprus, lifting a long-standing arms embargo and initiating joint military training. Israel, too, has signed defense cooperation agreements with Cyprus and regularly conducts air and naval exercises in the eastern Mediterranean. These alliances turn Cyprus into a potential launchpad for a multi-front offensive against Turkey, especially if tensions escalate over maritime boundaries, energy exploration, or Turkish presence in northern Cyprus. Internally, Turkey is compromised. President Erdogan postures as anti-Israel, yet secretly collaborates, particularly through oil trade via Azerbaijan. The Turkish deep state profits from narcotics, arms trafficking, and black market oil, much of it interlinked with Israeli, Qatari, and Western networks. Erdogan's primary concern is regime survival, not national sovereignty. Despite these setbacks, Turkey retains strategic assets, a burgeoning defense industry with indigenous drones, missile systems, and naval platforms. Influence in Africa and Central Asia through religious, linguistic, and economic ties. A young, dynamic population and strong geographic positioning between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. 5. Global actors. Absent, complicit, or ambiguous. Iran stands isolated. Russia tolerates Israeli aggression in Syria. China, focused on its Silk Road ambitions, will not jeopardize trade for ideological reasons. Russia is bogged down in Ukraine, economically dependent on Ankara, and unwilling to confront Israel. China sees the Middle East as a resource zone, not a geopolitical battlefield. Egypt plays a dual role. While publicly aligned with Israel in suppressing Gaza and maintaining Sinai security, Cairo harbors deep concerns about Turkish ambitions in Libya and Sudan. Egypt may tolerate Israeli expansion, but it remains wary of both Turkish influence and Israeli encroachment into Africa. Pakistan, historically sympathetic to the Palestinian cause, is constrained by economic crises, internal instability, and its dependence on Gulf money. However, elements within the Pakistani military and public remain opposed to normalization with Israel. Pakistan could be a latent ally for Turkey in a new resistance bloc, but its political elites remain cautious and reactive. Israel faces no real resistance. The only possible regional counterweight, Turkey, is hamstrung by its own internal contradictions. 6. Strategic forecasts and scenarios. If current trends continue, we can expect the following outcomes. A formal Kurdish state spanning Syria and Iraq, undermining Turkey and Iran. The further normalization of Israeli-Arab relations, cementing Israel as the security hub of the Middle East. Jordan's destabilization, enabling ethnic cleansing in the West Bank. De facto Israeli annexation of Gaza and complete disarmament of Palestinian resistance. For Turkey, the options are stark. Scenario A. Capitulation and client state status. Erdogan maintains power through Israeli and Western cooperation at the cost of national autonomy. Scenario B. Nationalist revival. A post-Erdogan leadership reorients Turkey toward a resistance bloc with Iran, Qatar, Algeria, Pakistan, and possibly Malaysia. Scenario C. Independent geopolitical pivot. Turkey embraces a non-aligned strategy, playing east and west while purging internal corruption. Conclusion. The final battle for the Middle East. The Greater Israel Project is no longer a theory. It is an operational reality, fulfilled not by dramatic conquests, but by the slow-motion collapse of its enemies and the complicity of regional regimes. Turkey, once the heir to the Ottoman world, now finds itself at a crossroads. Either it becomes the last wall of resistance to Zionist total control, or it dissolves into another manipulated vassal state, ruled by mafias and suits, waving flags that mean nothing. The time for ambiguity is over. Turkey must choose a side, sovereignty or submission, resistance or betrayal.